Yay! Welcome, everyone. I'm going to introduce who we are. We're Pandion Music Foundation. We're a free online platform empowering artists as they navigate the music industry through educational resources, workshops, wellness guidance, and direct access to experts. We help to provide a constant thread of support for music creators with a specific emphasis on uplifting music creators from underprivileged and marginalized communities. And today with Jolene of Hemispheres. She's a Renaissance woman fusing many paths into her own. Jolene finds her passion and spark in the intersections between song, story, technology, and human potential, and creating the connections between them. As a writer, artist, and a creative director, her credits include Love is Blind, Fantasy Island, First Kill, 90210, All American, Bel Air, Toyota, Meta, Vogue, Samsung, Coca-Cola, The North Face, Land's End, Graco, Fleet Feet, the Salvation Army, Rode Microphones, and many more. Amazing! And welcome, Jolene. I know that doesn't tell everyone about you. You can maybe do your own little intro if you
Yeah,
can.
it's a little bit. It's a start, and I know that was kind of a mouthful, but yeah, nice to meet everyone here. Thank you all for being here. I have been in the song. I've been creating albums, I guess like half my life now. Put out my first record in 2009, and have kind of naturally found my path in the creative world doing music for film and television, primarily, among other creative outlet expression as well. So I thought I would share a bit with you all about something that a theme that I'm passionate about is uh just creating with consciousness, creating art that has longevity, that you're sourcing from depths and giving your art roots in a way that lasts and continues to have staying power and continues to generate revenue for you across time. I know that a lot of times with like music industry workshops or with songwriting workshops, um, business networking kind of events, it can be really easy to get sort of um, to get like redirected on this path toward what you think is going to be successful, and to like align your focus toward following what where you think the money is or where the opportunities are. And I think it's always really important to color your decision making and to like to understand the lay of the land that you're working in, um but also to come from a place of groundedness and source from depths, so that you have, if you're building a house, then you have a foundation that lasts. If you build a really sturdy, secure foundation that goes really deep, or if you're planting a tree, the deeper the roots are, the longer it's going to stand there and keep bearing fruit. So um that's the perspective that I wanted to share from today. Does anyone have any questions so far?
I like your introduction there, Jolene, and um, just because, I just thought of it. Like, give us, our community, something that you're currently passionate about, creatively and artistically and music wise.
Oh, what I'm passionate about, like with what
Like,
I'm creating,
yeah.
I have for me a body of work kind of. I I don't really consider myself as even being a songwriter that much anymore. I practiced a lot of songwriting earlier in my career with like reading all the books, doing the craft, um and now when I create songs, it's more like I just receive them like transmissions, and I just receive incoming transmissions and then sort of work with the creation to finesse it a little bit. But I received this collection of songs back in 2018, and then I sort of started to work with them. And they sort of grouped themselves into archetypal navigational directions. Where it's like, oh, these songs represent the north, these songs represent the south, these represent the west, and these represent the east. And so for me, my artistic passion project right now is that I've been building and creating that into like a multimedia interactive novel story universe that people can go and explore on the internet, on my websites, and um, the music videos, and there's this whole sort of universe that I've created. Um, and not even so much created as sort of just like it showed itself to me, right? And then I built it into a physical thing that people can go and experience. So, um, yeah, just talking about interacting with creation in that way is something that I wanted to address. Because I also see in the film and television music space, I see a lot of themes, a lot of really deep, rich themes about life, about relationships, about meaning, about the things that give us purpose in life that are always in demand. People always need songs for stories about friendship, about relationships between fathers and daughters and mothers and sons. And some of the most human experiences um, often get overlooked in favor of what people feel like they're supposed to be writing um, for like what's popular right now and what's the trend that's going to pay the dollar right now. So yeah, so I actually made a little bit of a presentation just to kind of keep us on track. Is it
Wonderful.
all right if I share my screen here?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, I'm just going to put this on the slideshow. So just talking about where we're sourcing from. Um, I I know that a lot of people are paying more attention now to where we're sourcing our food from, where we're sourcing our ingredients from, where everything that we use in our life, we're voting with our dollar, right? As far as where all the pieces come from, where is it sourced from? So with our writing, it's important to think about where is it coming from, um, and then sort of encourage those creations that are coming and flowing naturally and work in alignment with it. So um, I know for me, it was really important for me to spend the time like, doing the homework and doing the craft and practicing, just sitting down and doing the work. And that's always an important part of the process. Um, but for me, I have found in my creative path that that was a part of the process that then sort of like broke me through to then being able to just get all of those rules out of the way and not be so much when I think of sitting down and doing the work, it feels kind of confining and it feels like homework to me. It feels like a closed off space where I need to like sit and have a piece of paper. And what I actually find is way more productive, creative time for myself is I just when I just allow myself to receive and I'm not trying to get um, get something written down on a piece of paper. And Um, it's not always something that you can just turn off and turn on, like, okay, I'm gonna sit and receive a song right now. It tends to be more um noticing, just noticing when things come your way, like when you're humming something and you're like, oh, I haven't heard that before. That's kind of cool. Or noticing something that's coming into your alignment, somebody that's having a conversation next to you that that triggers and sparks something. So watching where things come alive in your psyche that get you excited and then making a note of that. So for me, my voice notes are my best friend on my phone. Just keeping that really easily accessible, the voice note app. Um, Partially because not only is it important to pay attention like while you're awake to what ideas are sparking for you, but or what kind of melodies are coming to you, or anything like that that might be the beginning of a song that you can work with. Um, there's also working in the dream space or the liminal space between waking and sleeping, where you a lot of really great creators over time have sworn by this. Salvador Dali, Albert Einstein. I think they both famously had some type of method where they would set up like a booby trap for themselves to wake themselves back up right when they started falling asleep, so they could kind of stay in that space between waking and sleeping. Um, but for me, I find that just practicing lucid dreaming just a little bit by making voice notes of what I was dreaming the night before, then I start to receive songs in my dreams too, right? So when I'm practicing working in that space, because it's the subconscious, you're working in those deeper spaces of the psyche, that you can start to bring your dreams to life more in this space and remember them more, develop that connection between your subconscious and your conscious minds by just making a voice note of like whatever conversation you were just having in your dreams, so you can start to build that connection. And then as I've done that, when I have songs in my dreams, I'll just make a note of the whole song. I'll have songs that come to me with all of the, like, even a bunch of guitar parts, extra melodies, most of the lyrics, so that it sort of just translates a pretty clear picture, um, if you have songs and dreams. So that can be a really powerful space to source from, that the that connection to the collective unconscious and your subconscious that knows a lot more than you do.
Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful.
so just getting out of the way and letting your subconscious do the work more, and letting the creations flow to you, and then working with them, um noticing when ideas are coming to you, and then sort of setting the stage for more of those things, because maybe not everyone receives songs and dreams, but maybe there's a certain type of environment that you things just start to come to you more, so you want to align with that and start to practice working with that, and then do the diligence with those songs, and show them that you mean business. So any questions anyone has about that? I'm just looking at the chat.
Yeah, I have a question for you,
Yes.
Jolene. So, how do you, so it sounds like you go deep with your, with your channeling with of the songs come to you, or there's so many different ways that you get inspiration. How do you balance that with your admin managerial kind of licensing sync world? And it sounds like you're part of a lot of different music groups, like
Yeah.
uh, like Durango. Like, how do you balance that? And
Mhm.
for our music community and our listeners out there, also one more thing is your screen that you're showing is still showing loading, and I was wondering.
Oh, interesting. 'Cause so you can't see where what it says on my screen right now? Oh, now is it
Oh,
showing?
there we go. We can see it now. Okay, there.
Okay, interesting. So when I had it expanded out, then it was, um, let me see if it will show again now. Now, if I put it on slideshow again. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. It
That's still
pauses the
loading.
screen sharing if you put it on the presentation in
Oh,
Google Slides.
yeah,
So
right.
I'm sorry about that. I didn't know
Okay,
that.
that's good to know, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but yes, anyway, that was my question is like, how do you,
Yeah. So the balancing of sort of the channeling and the flow versus sort of the more um urgent task oriented things that come up when you're doing the business side of this work. I definitely do think there's sort of like flip sides of modes that you can be in. And what I really like to do is when a song is coming to me, make a note of it and keep it alive in that make it um be a voice note rather than writing something down. There's an aliveness to it being keeping in that fluid state of the sound recording versus me getting out a pen and a paper. I find that I just notice energetically that it seems to kind of slow down on my flow when once I've like codified it onto pen and paper or even Word document. And um, so I just make voice memos as they come to me. If something's channeling to me, then I'll just make a note of it right then and there, which does not take almost any time. Um, Most of the time, I just make sure to grab the fragment that's coming to me, and then um, a lot of times, then I'll sit down with intention later and sort of finesse it and spend time with that idea and get in the studio with someone and lay it down, or the really alive ones that like as soon as I have a moment, I'm gonna go and or it will just come to me. I'll make a voice note of it of what's coming so far, and then I'll do some other things during the day, wash the dishes, send some emails, and then like more lines just come because it's really alive. But sometimes I'll come back to it and finish it up more intentionally.
cool. Love,
Yeah.
love the way you are approaching that. It's good to hear, different perspectives on the creative process, and it's great to hear yours. And so you want to keep going with your slideshow? Is there
Yeah, sure.
any other?
Yeah. If
Yeah.
nobody else has any more questions, we're good. Um,
Or you can put your questions in the chat, and we could always ask you to
yeah,
ask in person if you feel up to it.
great. Um, so I also want to talk about why. Um, why are we creating and making sure that we're keeping the reason for why we're doing our art front and center always. So there's a Friedrich Nietzsche quote that's he who has a why to live can bear almost any how, meaning, yeah, it can be a tough industry. And so a lot of people don't always get the recognition, the um, all of the perks, all the dollars, especially right in the beginning. But you keep your why front and center um, and continue to create from that space of remembering why you're doing this. Um, so the craft matters, um, the spins and dollars always come when the why is in focus, and when we're chasing the craft or the spins or the dollars, there's always a cost where you're losing sight of the message and the purpose and the uniqueness. So um, just to remember that creation is a spiritual path. It's a path to self-discovery, and it's sort of it's an adventure to go into those deeper places that maybe feel uncomfortable, and that especially those places that feel really deep and uncomfortable might be the places that really resonate with other people as um as you're speaking for them some experience that they are also uncomfortable with. So um there are a lot of there are a lot of flavors of human experiences, and um we need a lot of different artists, a lot of different perspectives to sort of give us all of the colors of the spectrum of life. And that's a lot of what I do with film and television, is finding those songs that help us tell stories that touch on all those different flavors, all those different perspectives that all different artists can bring to the table, if they're being true to themselves, if they're being unique. Because the last thing you want to do is create a bunch of music to try to make money and then have it just be like bland and boring and not actually hitting home on anything meaningful that lasts. So that then you've spent all this money making this art because you thought that was what it meant to make art. And um, just remember to dive deep into yourself. And I kind of just made a list of questions to muse on. And this is not necessarily a list that we're all going to um, read right now, but I just wanted to put this here. Feel free to, I guess, screen grab this or save it for later. We can just save these questions for yourself. Just some ways to dig into your why and what's important to you. And you can get really technical with all of this, and I don't necessarily mean all of these questions as like you need to translate and make a song out of any one of these questions. It's just meant to be sort of a calibration, right? Spend some time and energy simmering on what are the problems that you see in the world and the alternate realities or solutions that you can imagine for how to not have that problem be in the world, or what are the things that are most important to you in life, and what feelings do you have underneath that. Is there something unique about your life experience that's different from anyone else's, that you can share a perspective that no one else has? And what are the reasons that you're magnetized to people who are most important in your life, and what's special about that connection? There are so many endless facets to every person's life and all the connections and relationships that they have. And I know that everyone here has something unique to say. So maybe if it's helpful, I can copy and paste these questions. I'm going to stop the share. I can copy and paste these sessions into, oh, it says that my message is too long. But I can share some of the questions in the chat if that's helpful. Or we can do it in the, I know that there's a group that's going to be on Facebook after this where everyone can ask questions as well. But
Yes, that's a great place to share these questions to muse on. Yes, that's a great, anything you want to share in that back and forth is great. But oh, thank you, Jen.
oh, thank you,
That's
Jen. Yeah, love that. Um, okay, so Carrie said, I had music come to me later in the evening after 10 p.m. Guess mine comes at night. Yeah, that's great. Were you already, were you like starting to fall asleep, or was it just, it came to you at night while you were, um, 10 p.m.? Yeah. I mean, I always just like to keep the voice memo handy and make a note right then and there wherever it comes. And sometimes if you're about to, like, if you're starting to have a song idea come, one thing that I find it helpful sometimes just to sort of like start to drift off just a little bit and just close your eyes and drift off a little bit into a nap, and then like wake yourself back up and just sort of like let the song go and flow a little bit on its own, and see if it will do anything in the dream.
I love that. I feel like you're touching on something that everyone experiences in different ways, which is the creative process. It could even be when you're driving your car or when you're out walking and you're not even thinking of anything and something something clicks. And so what I'm understanding what you're saying is try to capture those moments in its more pure state with your audio recording rather than, you know, trying to remember later or something. Just get it fresh, right?
Yeah, yeah, fresh. And like if you can sort of keep your mind on it and actively working on it all day after, like, while when you're starting to receive it. I don't know if y'all have all read the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, but if you haven't, as a creative, it's a really awesome book. I love the way that she talks about interacting with um creations, basically her ideas, her book ideas, her concepts, that she recognizes that there's sort of a deal that she's making with the idea, and that if she doesn't work if she doesn't hold up her end of the bargain, that idea will go and find someone else to do it, and that their ideas are alive, and songs are their own creations with their own wills, and um it it will it if you don't do your part with it, and encourage the creation and continue to develop it, then it can go and find somebody else. Famously, uh, there was sort of a connection between Prince and Michael Jackson. I have I have heard through the grapevine. Maybe it's not famously, but it within the music industry, I heard that whenever Prince would come up with a song idea, that he would like, we gotta go and get in the studio right now and lay this down, otherwise Michael will take it.
That's funny.
Um, and my experience of songwriting is pretty that way, and creation in general. Like, if 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 ideas are coming to you, and you're receiving, and like you're being the radio antenna and the vessel, and the songs are like, okay, yeah, we'll come to you. Then you gotta do your homework. You gotta do your due diligence, so that all the songs know that you're a safe place, and that you're gonna do your homework and make sure that the songs get heard.
Exactly. Um,
I could say a little bit from the other night if you.
oh yes,
I
Carrie, go ahead.
mean, I was just a second. Let me go notes.
Oh,
No, I just, it's just there. Sometimes I just like to just play around, and ideas come that way, right? So I'm just there like, oh geez, it's getting late. It's almost midnight. I mean, that's like you said, that's where I kind of find mine. So in the morning, it's kind of between that 10 and 12 time. And I'm writing down these ideas. I mean, I always like put the mallets where the notes were, so I'd remember. Does that make sense? I mean, I'll just tell you a little bit. I'm not going to say the notes, but it's like, usually when you do a chord, it's 1-3-5, right? Or 1-1-7 with the stretch. But this is like 5 and then 4, but it's still the same chord, and I've never seen it before. But I know a lot of other vibraphone players talk about putting the 7th below. You like 1-5 and the 7. Sorry, I'm using mallets. But it was just kind of good to see that different flow. So I might try to do my due diligence as you're telling me to do on this and see where it goes.
Yeah, follow it through. Follow it through.
I was trying to do another person's. I kind of like work down either smooth jazz or a shuffle, because I think the shuffle would give it more I don't speak business, but more wide range for play instead of just smooth jazz. I mean, nothing wrong with smooth jazz.
Yeah, that's
Nothing
But
wrong with smooth jazz.
yeah, that's
thank you for sharing, Carrie.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to see that this seems to be resonating and relating with a few people. Thanks, Jessica, for sharing that about the book. And yeah, the idea goes and finds somebody else if you don't show up. And if you do show up and you do your homework with the ideas, then the word seems to get around in the song sphere and in the idea sphere, and they just keep coming to you. Um, yeah.
It's almost like, you know, I don't like to use this word too much or the saying, but leap of faith or trust in yourself. But that's pretty much what it is. It's like, take those moments as whether they're channeled or they come to you or however you want to describe it. Like if you own them, you think you own them, or you do or you don't, or maybe it's borrowed information that's traveling in the universe, however you want to word it. But I still think is like you said, Jolene, grab onto that and make it happen, because if you don't, somebody else will, and they'll be
Hmm.
picking up on that. And I love that. That's great. And I also love that it doesn't go wasted, like those ideas and those thoughts continue on to touch touch to all of us and connect with all of us. And maybe that makes us more connected as human beings, as brothers and sisters. And, you know, and there's room for more. If you let that one go, go to the next one, right?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And keeping keeping an aliveness to whatever it is that you're doing. Making sure that you're working with creations that are alive and that are continuing to spark for you. And if it feels dull and it doesn't feel alive and vibrant, then and something else is feeling alive and vibrant, go where it's alive. Um, yeah.
So you brought up something earlier, like you touched on, it's hard with licensing, and you think that you're trying to get into a certain place with it, but you touched on that natural approach of, let of allowing creativity and expressing it. And so some people in our group follow, and maybe write songs to briefs, or they are collaborating with other people. And so how would you describe that creative process in those more um,
Yeah.
linear kind of um, uh, ways, I guess you could say?
Well, I when you're talking about writing to briefs, I definitely um when I'm working with artists and I'm considering sending an artist a brief, or I'm considering taking on a brief as a writer, potentially writing something for it, I only take on writing to briefs that I personally feel resonant with, or even like recording a cover song for a project. Like if I love that song personally and it's something that I feel excited about releasing as an artist and it feels true for me, then I consider doing it. Um, I definitely find that when you're when you're trying to write to a brief and it doesn't necessarily feel aligned with anything else that you're doing as an artist, um, it just doesn't last as long. It's only gonna, like, a lot of times it's only good for that one brief. And honestly, the odds in the film and television, in the storytelling space, there's so much content, there's so much media being created right now. There's an endless stream of new um new stories, new reality shows, all kind of projects that need music. And if you're only making it for that one specific use, it's not gonna continue to have staying power. It's probably low odds that it's even gonna land that one spot. So what you want, I mean, what I find is way more effective when you're considering writing to briefs as a songwriter is how can you take that concept that is needed for the brief and how can you um, make it something that feels universal, that could be used for that and other things around it, and where it also feels true to you as an artist and has integrity with what you want to be saying and creating in the world. And um and if it doesn't pass those tests, like if you're just literally making this one recording for this one pitch this one time, it might not be worth your time. Like it might be good to to consider that and to weigh that in, because it can be really really easy in the sync licensing world to spend all your time on a hamster wheel chasing carrots for like a very specific project, and then you spent all of your time and energy making these really specific things that aren't aligned to what you're doing and who you are as an artist. So that's where it's really important to write from what's meaningful to you, and then if you come into alignment with a brief or some project that is closely in the wheelhouse of what you're already doing, or like a few degrees off, right, that you could take your own approach for it and say something valuable um with more depth, that's going for what they're asking for and what you know to be true as an artist and what you want to say in the world, then it will actually have staying power. And honestly, a lot of times with briefs, people don't always know exactly what they want. They're trying to describe something sort of general, and maybe they have some specific themes or some specific references, but a lot of times people don't know it until they hear it. And um, you're going to be more likely to land that spot if it feels real. If it feels like it's coming from a place of authenticity and integrity versus like you just wrote a track to that brief.
Awesome. Question from Jen. For those, oh, Jen, do you want to just ask that question in out with your own voice? I'm gonna give you that option and unmute you if I could find you.
I think Jen, you're unmuted. So I
Oh
think
yeah, no, she's unmuted now. Okay, go ahead,
Oh,
Jen. Hi.
hi. So I know a lot of people write with co-writers. I have one co-writer and we have, a board of 10 songs that are kind of in some state of being done. But I just wonder, like everything has to align, right? And a lot of us have written for specific briefs for a month or whatever. But it's really hard, like to say, okay, we're gonna write in this genre and it's gotta be for this ad with this kind of lyric theme. And it's like, how do you get all of that to work? Where, you gotta lay down the instrumental, and then you gotta come up with some maybe a scratch vocal, and then like bringing all that together when a lot of people have so many different teams, and it is about the energy. Like you've got kids doing this that month, or your partner is doing this. And it's like, how do you get that sort of spiritual guidance that you were mentioning, Jillian? Because it's not just, it shouldn't just be work where you're just like writing it out. It should actually have that kind of, I guess, organic spiritual thing. So I just like to kind of hear how some people are able to do
Yeah.
that.
I would say for me, you posed your question, the written one, as for those that have many co-writers. For me, because it is such like it's such a relational thing that has to click, and you have to find your pattern and your swing and your flow with someone. I don't work with that many people when I'm creating my own music. I pretty much have my people that I know that I work really well with. And I go out to them like knowing that we can reliably get things done. Like if they tell me that we're gonna have this thing done, we're gonna get it done on time. And I think it's very personal. It's very individual what the process is for me. like if you're talking about creating on a deadline to a brief, I'll share that I had a project for a fast food commercial back like probably a year ago, and they gave me the picture, and it was this story that I liked and resonated with, and so because they resonated with it and it really clicked, the it basically the song just kind of came to me right then and there, like it was done at like 5 minutes after I saw the picture. So I basically just laid down, I think that I laid down a voice memo. It was just a super simple voice memo and sent it to the producer that I wanted to work with on the project and asked him if he'd be open to taking it on and let him know the timeline. We need to have it done by this time. And if he's like, because he said yes, then I accepted that project. So a lot of times if it's got to be a full production and it's turned around quickly, it is really important to find people that you can work with really well, who get what you're doing and can do it quickly and can follow through on the timeline that they say. That's like that's a really really valuable asset to have, if especially if you're not producing your own music, because I do write my own music, and I have some sort of rudimentary production skills, like I do my own demos and vocal comping in Logic, and then sometimes I'll do MIDI keys, and I find a few sounds, and when I'm in the studio I co-produce everything, but I'm not like a technical person. I'm usually not producing out my own stuff. So it is really important to find people, and I would say find people ahead of time when you're not under a crunch. Like try out working with different collaborators and see how you work together, see how the alignment feels. I know what you're saying about like just absorbing that person's energy. Like allow yourself to just explore and get creative and figure out what you're able to create when you're not on a deadline, and then try practicing making something to a deadline, like an imaginary deadline with somebody, like, hey, let's crank out a track in a day for this brief that we have, right? When it's not urgent, when you haven't promised someone, yes, I will get you this by this deadline, because you definitely don't want to do the thing in the music industry where you promise someone that you're going to deliver something by a certain time, and then because you're working with a collaborator that is like doesn't follow through, or just is like slow in communication, or whatever, all the ducks that didn't come together in a row in time, you don't want to be where you're not coming through on your word, right? So yeah, find your people ahead of time that you work with, and it's yeah, not everyone's going to click, and that's just kind of how it is. You just try it out and see who you work together well with, and who understands what you're doing.
Yeah, that's great. That's probably the biggest thing for everyone is just finding your team, right? And trying new people out. Jen, another way to do it would be to seek the people out first rather than just waiting for people to seek you out, because sometimes then you have the option to listen to their music and see if they resonate with you. So that's just one thing that I'm starting to gravitate as well to.
Carrie was asking if a brief is the same thing as a sync project. And I would say a brief in the songwriting and music creation space is anytime a particular style of song or track is needed for anything. There are briefs sometimes that like labels will send out looking for pitches for artists that they're representing. Like, we want songs that sound like this and this with lyrical themes about that to pitch for our whatever up and coming artist. And so there's that. But when I'm talking about briefs that I receive on my end, mostly I work in the sync space, so people will send briefs over for wanting a particular song with a particular lyrical theme or with a particular sonic sound. And yeah, I hope that answers your question.
That was great. What was your first song, Jolene, that um that you got licensed, or the first project you got licensed where it kind of started your momentum, and how did that make you feel, and like was that by yourself, and like how exciting was that, and can you share a little insight to that
Um,
moment?
yeah, I mean, I've definitely had a lot of small victories along the way. Um I put out my first album in 2009, as I said, and then had like a few indie film kind of placements, um and then Vogue and GQ did like some online web ads, web like promos featuring their models, using some of my songs like back in 2011, 2012. So those were kind of some of my first breakthroughs where it was like, okay, yeah, I can make money doing this. People are buying my tracks to use for their projects. And then my first big TV placement, actually that happened in 2012, I think. Um, that was actually from going to a music industry conference, a songwriters conference called Durango Songwriters Expo, which we talked a little bit about earlier. That event and that community has become a really big part of my path and my the the relationships that I have in this industry, and then also the the learning, just the knowledge, the everything that I've um, gleaned along the way. Yeah, I went to the University of Durango and I got my first song placements from
I
there
love that.
from
For
people
those of
kind
you
of
that have never heard about Durango, it's Durango Music Songwriting Expo.
Durango Songwriters Expo. So it's Durango songwriters expo.com. And there's a fall event coming up in Colorado, in Denver, and then there's another event in February that happens in California. So a couple of different locations.
Right, in Ventura, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exciting. And then some of you might even know about the smaller one that happens in the like May or June. They
Mhm.
get invited to by Jim, who leads it, and it sounds like you're part of that community in a big way. So that's great, Jolene. So I recommended it as well. It's a great place to meet people, and even if you can't afford, if you can travel to LA, if you can't afford the whole expo, you can show up, and they have a meeting place. You can just meet people at their community like lobby area, which is also kind of a bar, but you don't have to drink. You just hang out with people, and they have some nice vibes happening there. And then there's of course our community, our music community. You can reach out to each other in the chat and share information here on Zoom, and also um, you could email us, and we could find out what you know if any way we can help you and connect you with other people. So that's another way. And we also team up with a few partners like 2Indie and and music groups like that. And we have lots of times have music supervisors or music agencies that come on to be mentors, and you can pay attention or rewatch some of those on our website. So that's a good tool as well. I just thought I'd throw that in there, Jolene, because it's a good reminder for people to know that they're not alone, and they got a music community, even if it's online.
Yeah. And real quick to add to what you were saying about Durango and like doing it more affordably, there's actually an auditing option too for the fall expo or the spring expo. Like if you aren't quite ready to present your songs yet and you just want to come and like go to the panels and sit in and learn from all of the listening sessions, but you don't necessarily want to get your songs heard yet, then there's like an auditing rate, which is a little more affordable. And then if you want to get your songs heard and critiqued and reviewed by industry professionals, then that's honestly one of the absolute best places that you can go for that.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jolene. That's right, the auditing part. I remember, even if, that's interesting because you get to hear the perspective of the 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 mentors that are listening to the music, and you get to connect with the community. So that's a good way to do it. So
Hmm.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what else, Jolene? We can open it up to questions, you guys. I
Yeah,
think
can I
seven.
ask a question what you're asking about? I thought you were asking her something like what I wrote down here. From the list that she told you about. What was the first what was the first company that you wrote for from the list that she
Oh, yeah.
you started saying something about 2012 and I'm like, okay, well, which one
Yeah.
was
So,
it?
yeah. So for me, it was, I didn't write songs for any of those companies. I put out, like, I made my own music and put out records and then licensed my music to various companies. So the Vogue and GQ projects were some of the first big-ish projects that started to come my way. They were just web licenses. But they ended up getting like 1 million views or something each ish, maybe more now, I don't know. And then my next like TV, my bigger television placement, first television broadcast placement was for ABC Family on a show called Jane by Design. That was, yeah, that was in 2012. And then 2018, I had a spot on a show called APB. Yeah, they've just sort of all accumulated over the years. But it's been for me a matter of just keeping true to my art and doing my artistic projects, putting out records that feel true to me, and then licensing those songs later. And I found um a lot of success in that in terms of the longevity of it, right? Where songs even from an album that I released in 2015 that are starting to get more popular and have a lot more listens now, because I had in the past couple of years I had 5 different spots on the show Love is Blind, um, on Netflix. And so one of those songs was used on the show 3 times, and on the third time that it was used on the show, for whatever reason, it got a lot of Shazams and suddenly it got really popular. And so it was I'm putting my website in here because somebody was asking. There's my website. And then you can also, if you decide you want to follow along into my whole little dream story adventure, you can also start there on maryellenkirk.com because she's asleep and there's a whole little dream journey. What was I going to say? So sometimes syncs can be really powerful like that, where if a song is used compellingly in a story, then a song that was recorded, released 10 years ago can suddenly get popular. And I had that happen, and I feel like a lot of why that was able to work was because it was my artist project, because I was creating something that resonated deeply with me and that was trying to touch into something universal that would last. So then 10 years later, now I have I think like 80% of the streams on that song have been from like since this February, because of the this like just the good placement on the TV show.
Yes, I love your story. That's great that, you didn't write for it, but you're as an artist, you were listened to, Shazammed, and that's how it started for you. And everyone has their own process, right? So, I would say, just like you said, Jolene, is just keep what's true to you, and um, the only way to get people to listen to you and to be part of, you know, the possibility of getting licensed and everything as you try is just don't stop. Just keep doing it, because when you stop is when you won't be noticed, because nobody, you could have maybe in your previous stuff in library or music, you people have access to that, but the energy flowing and the creativity, I think, is key here, especially if you're an artist or a songwriter or any of these things. You just keep doing it, and that's what we like to see. We're encouraging you. It's the
Yeah.
best thing, right? Anyone else? We have room for one more question, I think. And if not, I just want to thank you, Jolene, for sharing your vibes and your Hawaiian, like, magic with us today. And
Yeah, so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you all for sharing this space with me. It's been really lovely.
so lovely. Not every day do we get someone to go deeper, with that, because we do talk a lot on the surface level about getting things done, or, being part of, and this is great because then we could get a better understanding of someone like you, Jolene, and how it works for you, and maybe it'll enlighten someone in their next project that they're working. They'll remember what Jolene said about all that.
Yeah, I hope.
And
Yeah,
I
great.
think so. I think so. And so next week we have community listening session. We only have them once or twice a year, and it's put on by the Pandion team, and we're excited to do that. It starts at 3 p.m. Pacific time on May 8th, and you'll hear more about that in our socials. And if you signed up, obviously, with your email, we'll send you more about that via email. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And Jolene, what are you going to do next today in Hawaii? Are you going to go surfing? Are you going to go hiking? You're going to go
Oh,
swimming?
I'm gonna just go and sit outside on the porch and do phone calls and make playlists for briefs. Just all the, just working,
Just
but
working.
in a
Yeah,
beautiful environment. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, well, lovely.
Yeah.
We're all like, I'm going to imagine myself in Hawaii just for the next hour or something. And I just want to thank you all for coming, and I will see you next week. We will see you next week. Thank you, NIE, and thank you, everybody. And thank you,
Thank
Jolene.
Yeah,
you.
thank you,
Have a good one,
Jolene.
everyone.
Bye.
Appreciate
Blessings,
you.
everyone. We love you. Take care.
Bye.